Okay, so as a part of payables, we completed required configuration. All setups were completed. After completing the payables configuration, just we gone through the process of rapid implementation, how we can load the common configuration system by using the spreadsheets. So this is a process we followed, and these are the points we discussed. What those two files defines within the system in the sequence. So this is what we did. Now we'll go with the payables concepts. We'll go one by one. So first we'll see how to create the standard invoice. Okay. So we know very well this process and all, the same how we can just by using these screens, how that information can be recorded and what are the other points we have to understand if required. We'll see one by one. Okay. First we'll see the standalone invoice creation. Okay, we'll go and create the standard invoice. So already we opened the periods for GL as well as payables. Now directly we can go and create the invoice in the accounts payables. So to create the invoice in the accounts payables, you can take the navigation from this navigation window. If not from the navigation window, directly from the home page. Here you could see springboard icons. From here also you could see the payables. Okay, because we assign payable related three roles to this user, the three roles will have a full privileges to the payable related transaction process. Okay, so you can just click on payables and it's opening the three tasks: payables dashboard, invoices and payments. You can click on invoices. It will take you to the invoice workbench. So instead of calling workbenches, yes, still you can call as workbenches. Generally we use the term called as work area. If you click on this invoices, it will take you to invoice work area, payments work area, right? That's how you can call it. So if not from here, directly go to navigator. So within the navigator, you can find the section for payables. Under payables, you can click on the task called as invoices. Just click on invoices. It will take us to invoice workbench page. Now we are in the invoice workbench. On the top, you can see that the title invoice workbench, but you can call it as invoice work area. To create the invoice, go to task list and click on create invoice. Just click on create invoice.
I have a question. Can you tell me the difference between info tile and info let? I don't understand that difference.
I'll show you how to set it up. At the time we'll discuss. Now see again, see you know the terms, that is the reason we are speaking about it. So in the session we have many guys like, so what you are speaking, what I'm going to explain, they don't get any meaning. I'll cover in the page itself. Yeah.
Where are these terms came from, Lakshman? We didn't even come across it.
Yes. It's an information display purpose that they introduced. We'll discuss on this. Okay. In the different analysis tools, they use these terms. There are many in the market. There are many different tools where they use these terms. And Oracle acquired many products where we're really not sure from which product they taken these terms into this product. It's all about for information display, for quick analysis or reference or information purpose. Okay, even we can set it up how we require, that I'll be covering in the payables itself. Okay, we'll see that. Fine. To create this invoice, so this is the invoice screen. From this screen, just you can, from this page, you can create the invoice. So how many business units we associated with this user through payables roles? How many business units we associated? How many BUs we associated with this user through payables roles? In our session, in the previous sessions, we did it, right?
Only one.
Only one business unit. But if I want to create any invoice, I can create invoice for any one of these business units. I have access to many business units. I cannot say to all. Reality, these are not all business units. Still, there are many other business units in the application in this system, in this instance, but we are not able to see all from here, but we are able to see many. Any guess on this why we are able to see these many business units? Just only think on the point what setups we did, that's it. Any guess on this?
The functions that were associated at the time of creating the business unit,
Okay.
each one
Function.
created the business unit.
And due to common set.
Okay. Any other?
I think through roles they are getting. I mean, payable roles.
Through roles.
Those
Okay. Fine. Let's take these three points into consideration to understand this. The first point is the functions. Functions never come into the picture for the transaction process. Those only for setups. Those functions will allow you to do the setups. Once you do the setups, so the access will be granted as per the what are the roles you are assigning. That's different. This is not because of functions. And coming to roles, not because of roles. For our roles, we have assigned 3 roles to this user. For the 3 roles, we assigned our business unit. But why this user is able to access these many business units when we assigned only one business unit for this user related payables roles? The reason is reference data set. Which reference data set we used for our business unit? Which reference data set we used for our business unit? Just I am asking name. Which reference data set we used for our business unit?
Common reference data set.
Common reference data set. Fine. So that we are aware of. So now we'll talk on this point. Say I'm creating the BU1 and I'm creating many BUs. Say I created 10 BUs. And say I have one reference data set RDS1. Okay. And for BU1 creation time, I used RDS1. For BU2 also I used the same. For 3 also I used the same. And 4 also I used the same. And for BU5 I am using RDS2. Okay. 2. And BU 8, 9, 10, so I'm going to use RDS 3. And for BU 10, I'll use RDS called as 10. Fine. Say we created 10 BUs and we selected specific RDS to those BUs. That means 4 BUs we used one RDS. For this 3 BUs we used one RDS. For this 2 BUs we used another RDS. And for BU10 we used separate RDS, reference data set. Now what happens? Now when you have a user, we'll take our user only, Cloud INC, user we have. For that user, say you have a role called, you assign the role called as payables manager, accounts payable manager role. So what we are doing is we are assigning. So let me explain this process. Once we discuss, if you have any questions you can ask me. So what we did, normal process, we assign the business unit to role, and the role we assign to user. Now for our business unit, how many, our business unit we associate with the RDS, right? So these all the RDSs, this all the RDS, or else this BUs, BU1 is associated with RDS1, and BU2 also associated with the RDS1, and BU3 also associated with the RDS1, and BU4 also is associated with the RDS1. Done. This is how we have the case, right? Okay, so this is how we have this information. Done. Let's go with this example. We have a user, we have a business unit, we have a role, and we have RDS. So at the time of these 4 BUs, we use this same RDS. Now, our 1 BU we assign to one role. Sorry, first we assign the role to user, then we assign BU to role. And when you access to the application, say you completed all these activities. Now when you access to the application, the user will, as per this setup, user should have access to BU1. BU1 user should have access, and this user will have access to BU1 to work as an accounts payables manager. This would be the general expectation. But since the 4 BUs are associated with RDS, what system will do is, system will look at system, this user will get connected to RDS. User will get connected to RDS. Okay. As a accounts payables manager, user will get connected to RDS. To which RDS? To accounts payables manager, which BU is associated. For accounts payables manager, BU1 is associated. With BU1, which RDS is associated, to that RDS, user will get connected. Okay, user is get connected. So RDS1 user will identify. Within this same RDS, the same RDS is used by how many BUs? 4 BUs. That means this RDS has access to 4 BUs. This RDS, the same 4 BUs are used, same RDS. That means the 4 BUs are used, means the mapping is done. So this RDS will have access to 4 BUs. When user will connect to this RDS, how user is connecting to RDS1? User will try to access to the BU as accounts payables manager. When they connect to BU, the actual access will be granted to RDS. That means simply you can say the user will get connected to RDS, which RDS is associated with that user related role, this RDS1. How many other BUs are associated with the same RDS? 4 BUs. User will get connected to RDS. This RDS has access to 4 BUs. This user, through this RDS, will have access to this 4 BUs. Now if you take this scenario, this case, say we are not assigning, okay, let's discuss on this point, then we'll go with other example. Any questions here? You get the point what we are trying to understand. So that means,
so Lakshman, this is very ambiguous. So what is the best practice? So
we'll discuss this point. I'm just checking whether you got this point or not. We have, see what are the other options, how to restrict, we'll discuss on that. Okay, but here how it works we are discussing. Okay, before we complete this topic, definitely we'll come across all those points. So any question here to understand this point? How to bypass, what are the different options? Yes, definitely we should know and will understand. So any clarity you require on this, or any doubt you have to understand anything, how it works? What user will do is user will get connected to the associated BU related RDS. That RDS is mapped with how many BUs that user will have access to all the BUs irrespective of which BU is assigned to that user through specific role. Okay, fine. Now if you take another example, that means here based on this, here you can understand why we are getting all these BUs. Why we are getting all these BUs, how we are getting? Yes, we are using the common. Yes, we are using the common, we are getting all these. What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of we are using the common, we are getting all?
We have access to all the business units.
Sorry?
We can access all the business units because of common reference data set.
That means what? What exactly? How? So based on this discussion.
Because one of the business unit is attached to the role, and that business unit is present in reference data set one.
Simple point. Yeah, all are accepted, but the simple reason. So here, this is a point we discussed. Here you could able to see how many business units this user is able to access. What could be the reason? Why? What exactly done?
BU has access to common.
Sorry?
BU has access to common data set through that role.
Our BU is associated with the common, correct? Then?
And then
all these business units are associated to the same common RDS.
Which other BUs are associated with the common? All those BUs our user is able to access through common set. That means this, whatever the BUs you could see in this list, these BUs also used common set at the time of these BUs definition. That is a point. We are not accessing all. There are many other business units, but we are able to see only these, because these all BUs, including our BU, all these BUs also used common. That means our BU and all these BUs are tagged with a common set. So our user is connected to common set through our BU as a payables manager or supervisor or specialist, and is able to have access to all the BUs. Okay, so this is how it happens if you use the common. And if your requirement is giving access to specific user as a payables manager or supervisor or specialist or manager, what we have to do? Here, if you understand this example, you can just give the solution. What we have to do?
We have to create a reference data set and assign it to only our BU.
Yeah, BU specific reference data set we have to create, right? BU specific reference data set we have to create. Now what we have to do is, so you take this example. For BU 10, you may create RDS 10 or BU 10 RDS, you may write it. You may create one reference data set called as BU 10 RDS. Now what we could do is, you can assign this BU10 to your one or multiple payables letter roles, and this BU10 definition time sets already associated with this BU10. Now user will get connected to your BU associated RDS. User will get connected to BU10. This BU10 has access to only BU10 only. The BU10 RDS has access to BU10 only. Now this user as accounts payable manager can have access to only BU10 business unit 10. This is how you can restrict. this is the one option. That means by creating BU specific reference data sets, you can restrict the access. In case of EBS, what approach we follow? Or else here the requirement is, you may use, if you take this example, the same similar example I taken. So the two BUs, okay, it's completely dependent on RDS. The user will have access anyway. This point is clear. So in case of EBS, if you need access to two business units, two operating units, what we do?
We use multi-arc functionality.
Multi-org.
Global security profile. We'll create a global security profile and attach operating units to it, and add that MO security profile to the responsibility.
Yeah, fine.
So that you will have multiple
I
operating
got your
units.
point. Yes. See, if user require access to two operating units, normally we create two responsibilities. Say two operating units access, payables user required. You create two payables responsibilities, and respect to OUs we assign to the specific operating in payables related responsibilities. That is a practice we follow in EBS 11i. From release 12, Oracle introduced a feature called as MOAC, multi-org access control. Through that, if user need access to two operating units, instead of maintaining the two responsibilities to have access to two OUs, or to access 10 OUs, 10 responsibilities, you can have only one responsibility. Through one responsibility, user can have access to one or multiple operating units by using the security profile definition. You can create the security profile. Okay, if those OUs are under same BZ, if OUs whatever you want to access from single responsibility belongs to different BZs, then only we create the global security profile. So if you want to have access to multiple operating units which are belongs to different business groups, then we'll create global security profile. The BUs access which you required from single responsibility for multiple, you can create just security profile that will be associated with the responsibility. The similar functionality is available here. Also we can implement MOAC. Say you have this scenario. You have a BU1, BU2, BU3, BU4, but for all use the same reference data set. Now when you assign these two, so when you just assign BU1 to this accounts payables manager, that if you assign to cloud INC, the user will get connected to RDS. RDS1 is mapped with the 4 BUs. This user will have access to 4 business units. To override it, we can use MOAC. Okay, multi-org access control. Here we'll create the security profile, right? The security profile you can specify only one business unit that you can assign to user. That's how the actual definition, actual provision which just user will be getting through RDS, that will be overridden by MOAC security profile. In Fusion we don't have like a security profile and a global security profile. Everything they given as one definition. We'll see that when you are working on that. We'll just discuss and will be executing in the system. The same I just mentioned in the course curriculum also, as we are going to cover that. Here, where I mentioned here we have our security profile configuration under testing. We'll see there. Okay. Now these are the points to understand. So one, only specific BU access you want to give it to the user means you may create the BU specific reference data sets, or else you can have common reference data set. Common in the sense just name wise also they given one, that is a common. The same way for multiple BUs you may use one reference data set. In that case every user will be able to access to all the BUs. The reference data set is associated with how many BUs. If you want to override, you can use the security profile. Okay, any questions here to understand this concept, please?
Yes, I have one question.
Please.
That if we have a BU specific reference data set as well as we have the common reference data set which has multiple BUs, and then which reference data set will be preferred?
BU level you can use only one. Okay, BU level you can use only one. At the time of BU creation we will be using one. For each BU we have number of reference data objects. Do you remember reference data objects?
Yes.
So what are those? Payment terms, holds,
Payment terms, transaction
transaction
types.
type, sources. So that level you can, for each reference data, you can have a different reference data set. That's different. Okay, this access system will look at which reference data set you have at BU definition time level. That's all. Under that, what are the reference data objects we have? Based on the objects, you can associate the data that would be specific to the data sharing. But this functionality will work based on what reference data set you just selected at the time of BU creation. The same will be defaulted for all the reference data objects, which you can override, but not the one which you selected at the time of BU creation. So if you think you select,
So it means that we can only include BU1 in only once it is added, BU1 is added into reference BU specific reference data set. Can I add BU1 in common reference data set also? Again,
BU1, no, you
does
cannot.
system allow?
You are creating the BU1, you selected RDS1. So the same RDS1 will be applicable for all that BU1 related reference data objects, but all you can override with the common, so that the BU1 will have a data access for the common, not BU related level. BU level, the RDS1 only will remain. This access which we are discussing, that works based on the reference data set which you are selecting at BU level, not specific to reference data objects which you have under BU or within the BU.
Lakshman, can I assign the same BU to multiple reference data set?
So as a BU you cannot do. Under BU we have a reference data objects, right?
Yes, I understand. Just I'm trying to correlate it to 12. Let's say I have an operating unit. I want to assign to multiple security profile where I can access.
Yes.
In that way, we can possible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's possible.
Include one BU into multiple security profiles. Possible.
Yeah. Is it the same way
Yes,
the BU can be assigned to?
Yeah. See, say you have a 10 BUs, one user required access to 2 BUs, 1 and 2. In that case, we will create security profile for BU1 and BU2. You have another user who required access to 1 and 5. You have to create one more security profile. It's all about selecting the value. Accordingly, the system will grant the access. Yes, you can do that. That is, when you do that, that's nowhere related to RDS. You don't need to talk about RDS.
Oh, you are talking about security profile in
Yes.
Oracle Cloud.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Same as EBS. Yep. Fine. Any question on this, please? Hope this is clear. If you need any clarity, please. Any questions on this, please? Because this is a very important point we have to understand. So based on this one, we can take the decision how we want to provision the access, what are the different options. By default, the user will get connected to RDS. RDS is associated with how many BUs, those many BUs the user will have access. If you don't want to provision the access in that way, best thing is for BU wise you can have a RDSS. Okay, that's how you can just prevent the access and you can limit the access to associated BU only. Or else you have some common reference data set you are using and still you want to limit the access to that user for specific BU only. In that case, you can create the security profile for specific BU or by grouping the BUs, same as EBS MOSC. Done. So these are the points we have to understand. Now when you go to this invoice creation page, so system is not selecting any business unit. This user has access to multiple business units because of reference data set, but this user, here no BU is getting defaulted. When you have access to multiple operating units in EBS from single responsibility, do you think system will select one BU automatically? So in EBS, when you are working on EBS R2,
Yeah.
the responsibility
MO default of
5 operating unit. Do you think by default system will select an operating unit?
Yes.
Yes, I think it will select, right?
No, it won't select. You have to
Because we are
select the
assigning it.
profile option.
We need to set the we
Okay.
need to set the default will come
No
up.
default
Exactly. System won't
operating unit.
select. In the same way here also. So this user has access to multiple business units because of the common reference data set which is associated with our BU, but no BU is getting defaulted. The same as EBS, how we set that MO default operating unit profile option. In the same way here also we have to set the same operating unit we are calling as business unit. That means here we have to go and set the profile option called as MO. Okay, here just it's a default business unit profile option. There we call as default operating unit. Here we call as default business unit. We'll go and set the default business unit profile option to this user so that whenever you create any invoice from this user, you no need to click on this LOV, you no need to search for your BU to select. So we can just avoid all these tasks of clicking and performing time spending. So we'll go and set that profile option so that system all the time it will default our business unit here. If you want to override, you can override and you can go with other business unit. So we'll see this profile option setup. Okay. So we have a task, right, to set the profile option. Same task for any profile option. We use the same task, administrator profile values. So that you can search and find from the project or directly from FSM homepage, which we call as search page. Okay, just go to search. So here the task name is administrator profile values. Okay, so this is the task, manage administrator profile values. Just click on this task. Fine, we have to find a profile option called as default business unit. Search for default business unit. Just click on search. So we have a profile option called as default business unit. So the profile option code they given as default org ID. We know org ID refers EBS operating unit. Organization ID refers inventory organization. The same like a BU ID. Business unit is nothing but organization ID. So here we can set default BU for our user. So click on add profile values. We are going to set the profile value in a certain level. So just click on add. Select profile level. Here when you talk about level, only one level for default business unit, user level. Select profile level as a user, and you want to set default business unit for which user. Select our username. Our username is cloud inc, right? So find our user. And select this. You want to allow this user to have access to which business unit as a default BU. The one which we select, first of all the user should have access. Within that only we have to pick the value. Cloud. Cloud inc US business unit. Select it and say save and close. Done. From now, if you go to the invoice creation page, this user for this user system will default the selected BU. Fine, done. Okay, once you complete this setup, it may not impact, it may not system may not update immediately. What you can do, that action, you can sign out and sign in. Once you reconnect, it may get refreshed and the updates would be available when you go to the invoice workbench page. So Cloud INC is our user and provide password. Now go to invoice workbench and select the task called as create invoice. So you will navigate from here, click on payables. Okay, click on invoices task. So here you could see holds. System placed hold for 67 invoices because of validation issues, and system placed hold for 136 invoices because those are related to purchasing, matching related. And here prepaid invoices, prepayments, we have 24. Okay, so it's more than 61 days past. We have, how we are getting all this information? This information is not belongs to our business unit. This information belongs to other business units, which all other business units this user has access, because this user has access to multiple BUs. Because of common reference data set, the system is showing all these details for the BUs where this user has access. Okay, that will just go detail level, but just for information, that is the point. Okay, just go to create invoice, click on create invoice. It will take us to invoice creation page. So now system is defaulting our business unit. If you want to override, if you want to create invoice for other BU, anytime you can select and you can create. Fine. Now select our supplier, and supplier name is Cloud INC. Cloud INC supplier 1. Just type, it will fetch the value, select, and it will default the site and the supplier number. Let's wait to see that. Done. Okay, so this is only one site we have for this supplier, so system is defaulting it. Enter invoice number. We'll say Cloud 1 invoice number, and system is defaulting the invoice currency. Okay, here the currency which you see, that is invoice currency. How system is taking this invoice currency? The supplier site level, we give an invoice currency and payment currency as a defaults. Default invoice currency and payment currency we given. If you don't provide it, it won't fetch here. You have to select from LOV. Okay, done. So what is invoice amount? Say $25,000, and invoice type is standard. Okay, invoice type is standard. You see the invoice types: standard, prepayment, debit memo, credit memo. Okay, we don't have written as release invoice type, which we have in EBS. And apart from the transportation invoice, that anyway we cannot directly, there is no standard function for that in payables even you have in EBS, that has come through integrations. And apart from that, other invoice types, what we have, those we have, but you don't see in the LOV based on the process which you work. Interest invoice creation time, system will create interest invoice. When you do the customer refund, it will create the payment request. Or when you create the expense report, based on that, when you create invoice, expense report invoice also system will create with the type called as payment request. If you calculate the interest, system will create the interest invoice automatically. When you perform the withholding tax, system will create the withholding tax. So which can be created through manual process they're given here. Rest all based on the process, system will trigger and it will create those type of invoices. Now we are going to create the standard invoice, and here payment terms. So for this business unit, we created separate reference data set that we map to that reference data set. We assign two payment terms. That reference data set we associate with this BU. So this user can select any one of the payment term, only two. These two only we created and assigned to reference data set that we assign to this BU through business unit set assignment setup, right? So these are the points. So the previous classes, if you are practicing easily, you can connect. Otherwise, you may get question again. So done. So two payment terms only this BU has access. And this is a very basic information. And apart from that, if you want to add some additional details, you can go to show more. So in case of EBS, we'll go to the folder options and show fields. We'll click on show fields. It will display all the fields which can be selected in the invoice header level or line level or distribution level, right? The same way here, directly they are giving, if you go to show more, all the possible fields which you can select which are available, you could see here. So depending on your requirement, any other fields of data you want to capture, you can capture. This is very general information. And if you go to accounting, we know in the header level system captures liability account, right? Invoice header level. If you go and insert that liability account field, which normally directly system won't display, you could see liability account. The same you can see here. Now the liability account system will fetch from the common options. The liability account system is capturing for this invoice. It is taking from common options since no liability account is available for this supplier site level. The same way tax related and additional information is nothing but it's a DFF information. If you enable any DFF for invoice header level, that DFF fields will be displayed here. So that's how we have this all the information, the invoice header level. You may click on show less, the basic and the required fields only it will display which commonly used for any invoice creation. Okay, so that's how we have a header information. Now we'll go to the lines. So lines. So line type is item system.
Lakshman.
Yeah.
So in the header part, can we able to create our own custom DFFs and associate to this?
Yes, you can do that. Custom DFF means DFF is a standard functionality Oracle given. You can create the structure and you can add the attributes. Those will get displayed.
So is it through a personalization? Can we use personalization here?
Personalization you can do, but very basic personalization you can do. If you want to write some basic piece of query and all, those you cannot do in the cloud SaaS environment. You can do in the PaaS or on-premise. So basic personalization, simple personalizations you can do. Okay, disabling the tab, hiding the field, making optional field mandatory. These you can do. These doesn't impact the process or behavior of the specific function. Those are allowed.
So can we hide some of the prompts here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fields means yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can do that. Tabs or fields, you can make optional fields as a mandatory. That you can do. Those comes under basic personalizations, right? That you can do in the SaaS. Possible. Okay. Fine.
Lakshman, are you showing us as a part of your training? Are you showing us the discrete duplex field enabling and kind of a thing?
I didn't include in the course curriculum. See, which will create the issues to the instance. Frankly speaking, I didn't include majorly those two concepts. One is personalization, other one is DFFs. Okay, I'll show you the DFF, but my request is you don't practice it in this environment. What people do is they'll practice and they leave. And when others are practicing, always it will be prompting so and so field you didn't enter, mandatory and all. That creates issues for the people who will practice on this instance. Okay, I'll cover it DFF if you want to see that. Same, just we have a separate task. We'll go and define same as EBS. I'll be covering that. But my request is please make sure that you are not going to practice, because if you practice, you have to disable it. Then that would be fine. Yeah, we'll see that. I'll just...
That's a common understanding everybody should have.
Yeah.
Thanks. Show us, please.
Yeah, I will do that. Fine. So you can enter the line level. You may have one or multiple lines for invoice. That's the same. So no changes in that. Let's enter the same 25,000 as one line information. Distribution set we given at supplier site level, the same system is defaulted. Done. So we given all the details. I mean, invoice line amount we given. Distribution system will distribute this invoice based on the distribution set which we have. Now what we can do is you can go to invoice actions. In case of EBS, in the bottom you can see the tab called as actions. So you can perform the invoice related actions. Here the same they given in the top. You can click on this drop down. So these are the different actions which you can perform on the invoice. The first, you can go and submit this invoice for validation. Just click on validate invoice. We'll go and see the distribution also. If you want to enter the manual distribution, you can enter by clicking on this distribution tab. You can select line. If you click on distribution, you can enter manual distribution. Now we are using the distribution set. That is the reason we didn't navigate to this distributions. Just go to invoice actions, say validate. Now it will validate and it will show the status on any holds and what is the payment status and all the details it will show very detailed manner. So invoice summary. So validation status is validated. Okay. Account coding not required. Approval not required. Accounting unaccounted. Paid, unpaid, cancelled, no. You could see all these holds, installments. These are the different type of holds which you can place or system place depending on classification of hold, manual or system hold, installment hold, no, line variance, distribution variance, manual, system or supplier site level, no holds. And when we talk about payment, due date is today date because we use the payment term as immediate, term date is today. So due date also will become today since payment terms is immediate. The payment, how much we made against this invoice, 0, nothing. If you want to see the distribution for this invoice, you can click on the distributions. So based on this distribution set, what are the distribution system created that you can see from here.
Lakshman, in EBS, we do a lot of workflow customizations, especially releasing the holds right now.
See here.
So similar in cloud, how are we going to take?
Yeah. We have a workflow here also as a part of BPM. Okay, we have a for invoice approvals workflow and for holds also we have a separate workflow same as EBS. But here they given many conditions based rules. You can create rules with any sort of conditions. Normally the customization generally not required. If the standard rules are not meeting with your business requirement, then you may do some customization. In that case, we require BPL consultant who can customize the BPM workflow. Okay, for invoices and holds, yes, we have a workflows. Fine. Just click on save and close. Just it's all about we are reviewing the distribution, what system created with the help of this distribution set. Now, yeah, please.
Yeah. Right now, if we look at the way they created the invoice, the tax has not been enabled, so tax line did not show up on the distribution. Now on EBS, the way the tax lines gets created for an AP invoice is it gets calculated for every invoice line you will have. Is that the same thing in Fusion?
Same, because see, so totally depends on for which country, which localization you are using. Say you are implementing for US or UK, some other country, or else this Saudi. So you can use that EBT. In case of EBS, the same EBT business tax in the Fusion we are calling as Fusion tax. The same process. Anyway, we are going to cover that topic also. Fusion tax will configure and will calculate the tax on the invoice creation only. The moment you validate, system will trigger the tax calculation and it will be showing the lines. Below you could see the tax information here. So here it shows the tax.
I have one more question around that.
Yeah.
And the question is, you have been working on Fusion for some time, right?
Yes.
Generally on an invoice, during the validation, one of the errors normally that comes up is the tax amount at the header will not be equal to the tax amount at the distribution or at the line level.
That will have to, because see, header level you will be entering, say enter 25,000. On this 10% tax means it will become 25,000, 27,500. So this will remain same. In the line level, we'll have a 25,000. That system will be calculating, adding the tax called as the variance as 2,500, 10%. That I have to make it as a 27,500. Then header and lines, including the tax information, will get balanced, and the system will release the hold, and you will proceed. Okay. The tax things we'll discuss when we are working on it. If you have any questions, for sure.
And my question is not how things work, but I'm just trying to understand one simple thing, the functionality difference. So
No. Same like how you have a solution, tax solution and EBS, the same as they brought into fusion. They take.
Let me finish my question and you can answer that.
Sorry.
Let me ask my question. To that question, you can answer. Yeah, what you're saying is right. I'm not trying to.
Listen, one point, Wani. Your name is Wani, right? That's what I could see.
Right.
So that we'll discuss when we talk about tax. Because now if we both are going to talk about tax, others may not be interested to attend the session. Hope you can understand. Okay, let's talk what we are discussing. Fine. Here, any question you can ask me. So this is how just we have to create the invoice. Now in EBS, okay, in EBS, so we'll just perform the accounting, right? Everywhere, like we have to perform it. So when you perform the accounting, we have three modes: draft, final, and final post. So draft, it will create just draft accounting. When you say final, what final accounting do? If you submit the create accounting with the final mode, what system will do?
It puts into sub-ledger accounting.
It creates
SLA.
Accounting entry.
SLA.
Yes.
But not post.
This, and it's with the help of SLA. If you go with the final post, what it will do?
Post it directly.
What it will do exactly? The steps I am expecting.
From SLA post to general.
Accounting entries. It will
Transfer to
GL. What else? It will post in the GL. So the final post will perform three actions. Okay, it will trigger the accounting, and it will trigger the transferring the entries to GL through GL interface, and finally it will post. When you talk about final, just it's one activity it will perform, just it will create accounting. When you say draft, it will create the draft accounting. That's all. So that means we have three modes here. When you create invoice from the invoice workbench, we have three modes. In the Fusion, if you see that create accounting, we have two modes. One is draft. The second one is post to ledger. When you say post to ledger, this post to ledger is equal to EBS final post. Remember. Okay. From invoice workbench, you don't see any option called as final. So even if you create accounting entries, finally you have to transfer. That is the reason, and from the invoice creation page they are given this option, post to ledger only. There is no just final option. We'll see that. Go to invoice actions. You could see that the two options: post to ledger. Post to ledger is equal to final post. In EBS we have final post. What final post it will do? It will create accounting entries, it will transfer to GL, and it will post in the GL. And when you talk about draft mode, it will create the accounting. That's it. So sample accounting. There's two options only we have here, you don't see, which is equal to final. So there is no point of creating accounting entries and holding in the payables as a part of this invoice creation page. When you run the create accounting, yes, there we have option, but here only two options. If you say post to ledger, it will create, it will transfer, it will post in the GL directly. If you say draft, it will create the draft accounting for view purpose. That's all. So now we're going to perform post to ledger. So already our GL period is open. You can just say post to ledger. It will create, it will transfer, and here they give an option of overriding the account also. We'll discuss that. First, we'll see the cycle of this accounting entries creation, transferring, and posting in GL. We'll go to verify in GL. Then we'll talk about that option. So accounting is completed and post to ledger. Post to ledger is in progress. So if you want to view the accounting entries, click on view accounting entries which are created, which are available as a part of SLA that you can see from here. So item expense account is debit and liability. That this year expense account we given. This is the accounts payable account. That now we'll go to payables. We'll go to the GL and we'll verify the journal entry, which is transferred to GL and posted in the GL. Okay, switch to GL. Go to navigator. Under journal accounting, click on journals task. And go to task list. Click on manage journals. And find your journal with the period specification. So period is June. Here if you see the two star marks, any field, that means any one of the field you can select. Okay, any one of the field here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of 4, any one you can select, system will conduct the search. And apart from these fields, if you want to add any fields here, yes, here we have a few more fields which will be available for search criteria purpose. You can add it. You want to add the category base, you want to perform the search, you can do that. So category is added. Already category is there, not required. Any other you can add and you can search. That's how you can perform the search. Anyway, just provide the period name and search for the journal. So here you could see the journal which is flowing from payables based on the purchase invoice. Okay, journal is June 18, purchase invoice, batch system created, accounting period is June, source is payables, category is purchase invoice, amount is 25,000, batch status is posted. Okay, open this invoice. Open this journal. Click on the journal name. Okay, just click on journal name. So fine, before that we will let it open. It's taking some time. So in EBS we have a drill down functionality, right? Drill down functionality where you can select specific journal line, from line to SLA, subledger accounting entry. You can drill down that summary of information. From there you can drill down to source transaction also. The same possible here, but here we don't have any tab and all. Directly you can just click on the amounts. The amounts, based on the amounts, the drill down functionality they implemented, it will take us to SLA. From if you want to drill down from SLA to source transaction, you can do it. So this is a journal which is created based on the payables invoice. You could see the status as posted, and here you could see the two lines, the debit line and the credit line. Now if you want to drill down to payables original transaction, so you can drill down by clicking on the line amounts. In case of EBS, what generally we do, we select line, there will be one tab called as line drill down. How to click on that, but here they just everything, just the many functions with a simple, since it's a web page with the amount or some other line specification only, just directly you can click on that. It will keep drill down to the prior transactions or records. That's how they give in the most of the functionality. The same they applied for this line drill down also. You can just click on this 25,000. You want to drill down about this 25,000, and you want to know who is the supplier and what is the status of the payment, etc., etc. So you just click on the line amount. Just click on the line amount. So now system is showing these details, and this is account, and this is a account class, and transaction number, It's nothing but invoice number, debit invoice, validated, etc., etc. And you can expand that transaction information to see more details about the same. Okay, who's the supplier and site, etc., etc. All these details, legal entity, you could see from here. But still, if you want to go with the more detailed original transaction information, click on view transaction. It will take you to the invoice creation page with read-only access, because we are drilling down from GL to AP. So you may have access, may not have access to payables, but still system will allow you to drill down. So that would be read-only access. So this is invoice which is created. So this is a BU, and this is LE and the supplier and all the details you can see line level. Okay, if you want to view the distributions, you can view all the details you can see. So this is how you can drill down. Fine. Now we'll take the simple example. So here, done. Invoice is created and validated, accounted, and transferred to GL. After transferring to GL, say you identified that the account which is selected is wrong account in that invoice. Okay, invoice creation time, the user selected wrong account. So you inform to you as a GL user, you identified and you informed, or you take any case example. So here, what is the account we have here? So it will give the pop-up. 1 second. Yeah, expense adjustment account we used. So reality, that is a wrong account. GL user is identified and they're informing to payables user. So on the payable level, you can override this account. When you override this account in the payables level, even after creating the accounting interest transferring to GL, or if you want to take another case, even after making the payment also, still you will be able to override the account. Once you override, system will reverse that account in the payables. The reversal related entry it will create in the GL automatically. We'll go and see that. Now let's take the case as the expense adjustment account is a wrong account which payables user taken. Now we'll go into correct that account. We'll override that account. Switch to payables. Go to payables. Under payables, click on invoices. So here you can notice this information we call as infolets. So how to set up as per our requirement, I'll take you through that later. Now you could see the recent within 24 hours how many invoices are created, only one. That directly you can click on that, our invoice will get displayed below. So this is invoice created in last 24 hours. So you can click on invoice number. It will open the invoice, right? So we created accounting for this invoice. In case of EBS, if you want to see accounting entries, tools, under that accounting, view accounting, you have to click. But here, accounting, what is the status of accounting? Accounted. You can just click on the status. So if that is accounted, it will display the accounting entries. So to view the accounting entries for this invoice, click on the same status as which you could see as accounted. Which is accounted, it will display. Done. Yes. So now what we identified is this account. Okay, expense adjustment account is wrong account, but you validated, accounted, transfer to GL, or else there could be the case where you process the payment also. Even that is the case, system will allow you to override, and that whatever the override you are doing, accordingly the adjustment entries it will pass to GL also. Fine. This account I want to override. Select this code combination. Click on override account. So this you don't have in EBS, which you could see in Fusion. Select line, click on override. Remember, you should not change the balance on segment value. Okay, this is not same as override account. Okay, alternate account we have in EBS R12, right? It's not similar to that. Alternate account when you are importing, that's different. So select specific code combination, just click on override account. So it will ask us to enter the correct account. Just 1 second. It's taking time. Maybe we are trying to do it first time. So this is the current account code combination, and what code combination you want to take as a new code combination. You take any department, any other values, but don't change the natural balancing segment. So I want to go with the other account. This is the wrong account user selected. I want to correct it even after transferring to GL also, even after making the payment and transferring those accounting entries to GL also. So we'll go with a different account. How system will manage this information automatically, we'll see that. Select any other expense account. May click on advanced search. Say contains search for expense search. Say these are the internet expense. Select and say OK. Now you can say OK. I want to override this code combination with this combination. What is the reason? So what reason under some different some decision you people made, or some just correction. Okay, user did mistake, user mistake, or you can write it. Reason you can write, say submit. Once you submit this line, it will reverse and it will take this line as a debit line, and the impact it will transfer to GL also. In the GL also, within the journal, whatever the line we have, that has to be reversed. It will pass separate journal to reverse that line and to hit this new line as a debit line. You can notice here. So this is our actual expense account, right? And this is our actual liability account. And here, if you notice, our actual expense account is debited, our liability account is credited. Now what system did is, our, 1 second, the pop-up it is showing. So the same account, this account got reversal, and the debit one, it just taken as a credit, and the correction which we did, that is taken debit side. With this account we overridden with this account. So finally, so this is debited and this is credited, it got reversed. The final entries, this account is debited, internet expense account is debited, and liability account is credited. This and this. The same, it will transfer to GL automatically. You don't need to do anything. Just you submit this override. It will trigger the process, and it will, based on this reversal override activity, it will create the journal entry in the GL. We'll go to GL and we'll see now. Okay, switch to GL.
Lakshman, how many times you can do the same if you want reversal?
Frankly speaking, I never tested how many times.
Okay. And is it possible after closing period also?
Yeah, after closing period, yes, you can do it. You can do that. You can do that, but when you just close it, it is possible only in the open period. It will take that open period only. It can be done in the open period, like it will consider in which period is open. You did in transaction the past period, and if you are trying to do this, this will be applicable. It will be processed in the open period.
But there is not a correct practice actually. I don't know why they are allowed.
That is the reason we should not do that generally, right? So when we just normally we see the cases, business will close the period, they'll come back to us saying that I want to do some corrections to past period invoice or something else. Do you suggest? We always suggest it's not correct practice. Reconciliations and all will come into the picture. There are certain possibilities, but where as a consultant or business users, we should understand which should be done, which should not be done. Even system allows. Those are up to us. We have to make many decisions. So let's go to this journal. find that journal which system created. See, even there are many business practices which are not correct, but still business users do it. So that is the reason Oracle gives that flexibility, even that is wrong. Otherwise, they are not ready to go with this. Fine. So
Yeah, maybe instead of saying that Oracle given something wrong, but
I'm
just
not saying
for
wrong.
this case,
I'm sorry. I'm not
yeah,
saying wrong. They are giving flexibility. I'm saying. I'm not
flexibility,
taking
right?
the statement as Oracle giving wrong. They are giving flexibility. Even you or me think as wrong practice. That may be
Okay,
right as
yeah,
Oracle practice for
yeah.
consider
So
a business
if we
practice.
go to the business case that we are looking
Yeah,
at,
yeah,
right? So the
that's what. Yeah.
override, if you do after the period, so whenever the accounting entry is reversed in the later period, right, the balances would be shown in that period because from the reporting perspective, the correction was made in that period and it reflects that, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
The
yes.
gentleman who was saying probably it's the wrong practice. I'm just wondering
Yes, yes.
from this perspective.
Fine. Okay, so here you could see one more journal. Open that journal. So here, what you could notice. So what system did is you see here. I think this is the first one which we created. One second. Yes, this is the first journal which we created. The second journal we have to see. This is the one which system triggered based on that override function which we performed. So what it do? What it did? So this is the actual account which we had as expense adjustment, and just there it taken this account. So this account is basically debit account as per previous journal which we created. Now that account it credited and it debited new account which we given in the override process internet expense. Once these two journals are posted, this line will get knocked off across these two journals. The final result would be this account is debit with the 25, liability is credit with the 25. This override you can do for payment also after making the payment. Any point of time for invoice and payment you can perform, but when you should do, when you should not do, you have to take decision. Okay, but the flexibility they given. Whether you want to do or you want to allow this sort of practice because of some reasons or need, that business will take decision. But functionality wise, we have this. That's what we are discussing. So that's all about invoice creation, accounting, transfer into GL, and perform the drill down. And if you want to override, you can override it. Okay. So at the time of payment, we'll see that same override how it works, and we'll perform the override for payment accounting also, and the same we'll see in the system. Right. So that's all about standalone invoice and PO based invoice or invoice creation through matching. So to perform this PO based invoice creation, we have to set up purchasing and the relevant setups. So this will be covering as a part of P2P cycle. We have to do many setups across the applications, inventory, purchasing. So other dependency setups we have to complete at the time. We'll see. For now, I'm just marking this topic status as pending. Okay. So we'll see this topic as a part of P2P cycle. Now the next topic is invoice creation via spreadsheet. So we know Web ADI in EBS, right? So Web ADI, application desktop integrator. So as a part of EBS, it could be 11A or release 12. It's limited to as a part of financials for GL and FA. In GL, you can create the different type of journals, actual journals or budget journals or income journals. And in case of fixed assets, you can create the additions by using the Web ADI. The same Web ADI functionality in Fusion, they named it as ADFDA. Okay, ADFDA. So ADFDA stands for Application Desktop framework. Okay, now see, basically it's ADF stands for application development framework. Okay, here, so here based on this functionality, this we call it as application desktop framework DA, data integrator, which is equal to ADI, application desktop integrator, AD, application desktop integrator. Here also application desktop framework data integrator. So this is ADFDI is equal to EBS Web ADI as it is, and they extended the usage of ADFDI in Fusion. In case of EBS within the financials in GL and FA we use, but in the Fusion this ADFDI, okay, which is equal to EBS Web ADI, we can use in the payables receivables. In payables you can use this to create the invoices. Okay, the EBS we have a quick invoice, if you remember. EBS payables we have a quick invoice. That quick invoices with the simple information you can create by using this ADFDA. To spreadsheet you can create, and you can create the recurring invoices also through spreadsheet only, ADFDA function. The same way in receivables you can create receipts through spreadsheet, nothing but by using the ADFDI. In EBS, if you want to create any journal or asset through Web ADI, directly just you will take the navigation system, will create one, it will launch one spreadsheet, will enable the macros. That's how the framework it will build with the respective fields which need to be, we have to input, and then we'll just provide the data, we'll submit. Here, if you want to perform that as a prerequisite, we have to download one ADFDI file from the instance, and that you have to install in your client machine, and you have to set up within the Excel options you have to set, which will make compatibility to speak that sheet with this instance. Okay, so that Excel options we have to set up so that this sheet, this whatever we download and install in our machine, that will sync and that will talk with the application for any data flows, to just prepare any data in the sheet and to import into the application. Okay, to work on this ADFDI, we have to download the file from the instance that we have to install in our client machine. We have to set the Excel options, and then we can prepare the data and we can load it. The same sheet you can use across the Fusion applications for any sort of this kind of online transaction creation through spreadsheet. If you download one time and if you have in your client machine the same sheet, same whatever the file you are installing, that you can use across different applications. GL purpose you can use to create the GL journals, for AP invoices and AR receipts, FA, what I could say like FA assets, and even daily rates. In Fusion, daily rates and all you can create only through spreadsheet. If you want to create the spreadsheet, this ADFDI file need to be installed in your machine, the client machine. So then only these all activities you can perform. This is one-time activity you have to download and install. I think it's almost 9:30. So this we'll see from where to download, how to install, how to work on this ADFDI, which is equal to WebAD in EBS. We'll see in the tomorrow session. So any questions on today's session, what we discussed or on previous sessions, please if you can raise your queries and we can discuss. Otherwise, we
Lakshman.
session. So you may drop
Sorry.
the meeting if you don't have any questions, and I'll be available for 10 more minutes in the meeting. If you have any questions, you can stay back and we can.
Lakshman, this
Lakshman.
ADF DI,
Yeah.
is it like a data loader?
Not data loader. So you know WebADI in EBS, right?
Yeah.
11A artwork, same. Name they changed.
Okay.
Name they changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Lakshman.
Yep.
Teja here. Lakshman, today when you're creating invoice, you selected supplier.
Correct.
When you refresh the data, the supplier definition has not gone.
Refresh means what? Refreshing?
No, 2 days back, this we are working on new instance, right?
See, I set up all these things yesterday itself. Yesterday.
Okay, fine, fine, fine,
Completed.
fine, fine.
See, anytime instance,
Okay, okay, that's all.
just I normally used to set up the same as is with the same naming convention. So
Okay, 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 fine, fine. Now we are using the last 2 days back. You forward credentials for the
no, no, no.
infusion. The
I'm
same
using
thing
the
you will be.
I'm using the different instance. So
Okay,
the reason is what I could notice is the same with the same names people are practicing. So that will create some confusion when we test this environment, right? So
okay, okay, okay,
yeah,
okay, okay. Done, done, done. No issues, no issues. Thanks.
yeah. So when
What does
instance
ADF DI stand
no, no,
for?
one second. Let me just add one point. When system get refreshed, not only supply data, the complete information will get refreshed. Whatever I create or you are creating for practice, everything will get refreshed. Only the setups which they did as a part of vision definition, that setups only will remain. They'll take care of. They'll just accept the data, rest of data they'll remove. So that's how.
Lakshman?
Yeah.
The instance perspective, the 5401, when I look at your screen, you're using 5402. It's a different instance, right?
Yeah,
We will be
yeah,
practicing
that's what I'm.
5401,
Correct. That's
right?
different one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The port numbers are different.
What does the D in the ADF DI stand for? Application? Is it development or desktop?
Desktop for this point of view, that is a desktop, but technology point of view, that is application development framework. But that the term development is not applicable here. It's we call as a desktop because we use for desktop purpose. So here ADFD, application desktop integrator, the same term they just included here, the D. So application desktop framework data integrated, that's what we call it.
Okay,
Desktop.
thanks.
Yeah. When you talk about development and all, the web page development, ADF means application development framework. The ADF will sounds in that way in case of development, but it's not development. Yes, based on that ADF technology only they developed, but with this concept point of view, we don't call it as it's a development framework data integrator. We call it as application desktop framework data integrator. That's what we call it.
Okay.
Yep. So any other questions?
So Lakshman,
Yeah.
DFF is very important. I will be looking forward for it.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you.
I said DFS is very important, as you said that we will do. You will show us.
And I'll show, but who can promise me as nobody will disturb that instance. So that is the reason I didn't include even really as you mentioned. That's very important. But as we discussed, yes, I'll cover it. I'll be covering.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lakshman,
I think before they refresh the database, the day before you show us, and automatically the refresh will happen, right? So.
See, Srini, see, I'll show it. The people will practice later, right?
Yeah.
If I'm showing, I can disable it. What is the issue in that? So you will
they need to have that common sense for doing that.
See, not with intentionally, just as a part of practice, they'll feel okay, good, it's working. Yes, I gone through this. They may not remember to disable and all. So when others are practicing, that will be prompting, and the people find it's all the time it's asking. It's not necessary for me. That's how will just come across. That is the point.